Boogeyman band coming round the bend. Is Boogeyman band? Is Boogeyman band?
Greetings, my fellow Fright Fiends. Thanks so much for stopping by the Horror Zone channel. I hope everyone's doing well. This is an underrated horror film segment. This is one that I've been wanting to do for several months now. There's going to be a couple of them coming out this week. This is going to be the first one. The last time I published one of these was back in early February, first weekend of February, where I talked about the movie Hide and Seek with Robert De Niro and Dakota Fanning. This is one that I teased would be next, and there's a little story behind this one. And this is actually the second time I've tried to shoot this one. I actually tried to shoot this one the first week of February, and it just didn't come out right. So I ended up scrapping it, and I'm redoing it now. So this movie is one that I discovered in, I'm going to say, late summer of 1990. And back in 2023, when I revived the underrated horror film series, this was supposed to be one of the 4 that I was going to do, and I ended up only publishing 2 videos. The problem I ran into in 2023 is I couldn't find a physical copy of this film, nor was it available on digital. In fact, it just became available on digital in November 14th of that year. So I was a few months early because I was trying to do this one in spring. And what ended up happening is on my birthday that year, April 14th, my wife and I went out to dinner. We went to one of my favorite places, Mona's, which I go to pretty much every year on my birthday, or even if I don't go there on my birthday, I go there like my birthday weekend or right around my birthday. We went there, and then afterwards we went to Rasputin's, and I was able to find a used copy of this film. And of course, the film I'm referring to is Blue Steel, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. This was a film I discovered in the summer of 1990 when it first came out on VHS. And it was a very different style of movie for me. And there's going to be some themes that I talk about in this video that kind of harken back to one of my recent videos, and that was talking about Tom Holland's film Fatal Beauty, starring Whoopi Goldberg and Sam Elliott. But this is a film that has always disturbed me. I had a huge crush on Jamie Lee Curtis, and I still do, growing up. Before this had come out, I had seen her, of course, in the Halloween films. I'd also seen her in movies like Trading Places and A Fish Called Wanda. So, needless to say, she was a big crush of mine. And this was a very dark film. Catherine Bigelow would go on to make movies like Point Break, The Hurt Locker. I think it's such an amazing feat that she was able to make this film with a, even though it's more of a drama than an action film, a female lead in an action-centric horror it kind of crosses the line between horror and action and drama. It's got all of the components, but in a very male-centric time in movie history. So there's a lot of great things I can't wait to sort of share about this. I won't be giving away any spoilers. I know this movie is old. This movie came out 36 years ago. But this series is not to spoil things for people. It's more to entice people to check out movies maybe they're not aware of, or ones that are kind of relatively unknown at this point, that aren't talked about as frequently as a lot of other films. And I'm so glad that I finally get to talk about this one. I still remember the night I got it. I watched it that night, planning to do a video on it the next week, and I ended up doing a video on John Carpenter's The Fog because I went to the locations, and then I went and saw Evil Dead Rise, and then I had a lot of work going on at the time, and I just didn't get a chance to talk about this one. It just kind of got shoved onto the back burner, and here I am finally able to present this. So what I'm going to do is give a little history on the film, of course talk about the cast and crew and everybody involved, and then I'm going to come back with my thoughts on the film, and especially talking about what it was like watching this as a 16-year-old kid for the first time. So I hope everyone looks forward to this, and here we go. Blue Steel is a 1990 American neo-noir action thriller film directed by Catherine Bigelow and starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Ron Silver, and Clancy Brown. The film presents a harrowing deconstruction of male gaze misogyny at both psychological and institutional levels and the terrors of urban womanhood in the late 20th century. Through the experience of a New York police officer who shoots and kills an armed criminal on her first day of active duty, only for a witness of the incident to steal the criminal's weapon and begin tormenting her life as the object of a homicidal obsession. Blue Steel was originally set to be released by Vestron Pictures and its offshoot label Lightning Pictures, but the film was ultimately acquired by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer due to Vestron's financial problems and eventual bankruptcy. The film was greenlit and produced by Lawrence Kasanoff, Lightning's head of production at the time. The movie stars Jamie Lee Curtis as Megan Turner, Ron Silver as Eugene Hunt, Clancy Brown as Nick Mann, Elizabeth Pena as Tracy Perez, Louise Fletcher as Shirley Turner, Philip Bosco as Frank Turner, Kevin Dunn as Assistant Chief Stanley Hoyt, Richard Jenkins as Attorney Mel Dawson, and Tom Sizemore as Woolcap. The movie was written by Eric Red, Catherine Bigelow, and directed by Catherine Bigelow. According to Catherine Bigelow, the film came about as a result of interest Oliver Stone had in producing whatever she had wanted to do after a handful of years gestating a pitch about gangs. Initially, it had started as a possible project for Walter Hill to produce. Stone had initially been interested in doing a project about gangs in South Los Angeles, having her write it with him, but film commitments delayed that interest. Stone served as producer along with Edward R. Pressman, which helped the film get financed. Red has referred to the script as just a female version of The Hitcher, which he had written. Jamie Lee Curtis that revealed that in the original script had her nude during the final gunfight. She refused to film the scene, so it was rewritten to have her character dressed in a stolen police uniform. Clancy Brown shadowed NYPD homicide detectives for 2 weeks. Jamie Lee Curtis also took part in several weeks at the NYPD Academy, including its firearms training. Jamie Lee Curtis plays a rookie police officer. In real life, Curtis was originally going to be a police officer before becoming an actress. The villain has a lot of similarities to real-life New York City serial killer David Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam. Like the Son of Sam, the killer in this film is revealed to as the .44 Magnum killer by the media, commits his crimes in New York, appears to hear voices as the Son of Sam once said he did, and taunts the police. The film premiered at Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah in January of 1990. It was officially released on March 16, 1990, and was ultimately not a box office success. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 75% based on 28 critic reviews with an average rating of 6 out of 10. The consensus states that Blue Steel's increasingly over-the-top story beggars disbelief, but the cop drama is elevated by an appealing cast and Catherine Bigelow's stylish direction. Film critic Roger Ebert compared it to John Carpenter's Halloween, noting Blue Steel is a sophisticated update of Halloween, the movie that first made Jamie Lee Curtis a star. What makes it more interesting than yet another sequel to Halloween is the way the filmmakers have fleshed out the formula with intriguing characters and a few angry ideas. Entertainment Weekly stated that Blue Steel turns into yet another movie about Jamie Lee Curtis bravely fighting off a boogeyman. It's Halloween 1990. Still, Bigelow's talents cuts through in flashes. New York Times praised Curtis's performance, stating that she makes Megan so appealing and real that the film holds together even when it has no reason to. So, besides Jamie Lee Curtis, I was familiar with several other actors that were in this film. I knew who Elizabeth Pena was. I was familiar with her from the movie. At this point in my life, La Bamba was the one that I had seen her in prior. Louise Fletcher, I was always terrified of. She plays a very different part, playing Megan's mother in this, but I always knew her as Nurse Ratched, and she was a terrific actress, but that character really left an imprint on me at that young age. Philip Bosco, I remember from movies like Working Girl and Money Pit. Kevin Dunn I had seen prior to this in movies like Ghostbusters 2. Richard Jenkins, who I'm a huge fan of still to this day. First thing I ever saw him in, he played River Phoenix's dad in Little Nikita. But everybody else, this was my first time seeing them, like Clancy Brown, who I'm a huge fan of and have been ever since seeing this performance that he played as Nick Mann. Ron Silver was another actor I wasn't very familiar with, and his performance in this film as Eugene Hunt is terrifying. You're really with the Megan Turner character, and I think this is a very grounded performance from Miss Curtis, and it's one that I think is one of her best, and it's one that it's unfortunate that people don't recognize, especially now that she's an Oscar-winning actress and things like that. I mean, she's gone on to do so many amazing things, not only in Everything Everywhere All at Once or the recent Halloween films, which I do think she did a great job in, but also television shows like The Bear. She has such an amazing range, and at this point in her career, she was the sex symbol. She had done the Halloween films and Terror Train and Prom Night, and kind of then broke away from those, and then was trying to get into more adult movies. So of course she did Perfect with John Travolta. She would go on to do like A Fish Called Wanda, and then she went into this. So she had done one where she was like the sex appeal, And then even in Fish Called Wanda, which is of course a farce, it's more of a comedy than anything else, she played upon that as well in that movie. In this, it's very different. She's a much more subdued character. She's a woman that's really proud of her accomplishments. She's really proud of the fact that she was able to become a cop, and you just see that in her, especially at the beginning. Her good friend, played by Elizabeth Pena, she's really close to her. She has an abusive father who treats her mother, played by Louise Fletcher, horribly. She's sort of stuck in this situation at the very beginning of the film on her first night as a cop, where this grocery store is being held up by Tom Sizemore's character, and this was my introduction to him as well. And it's another actor that I truly miss, that's been gone for 3 years now, a little over 3 years. But that standoff between her and Sizemore is so amazing, and really just caps off what the rest of the film is going to be like. It's a very dark film. And then when you get into the whole thing of Eugene Hunt stealing the gun that Sizemore's character, who is just known as Wool Cap, drops when Turner shoots and kills him, then you start to see this other side. He just looks like a businessman, but then you realize that there's this other side to Hunt's character, and that he is psychotic. And it's terrifying. And the fact that they can't find the guy's gun, they accuse Turner of killing an unarmed man, because so many people were just shocked that were in the store when everything was going down. A lot of people said they didn't see what the guy had. Just sort of paralyzed with fear during this intense situation. Just again, it's this very male-centric environment that this woman cop is in, where she's just started, going through the process of acclimating to being a cop, and then this horrible situation is kicking off her very first night, and then she has all these men around her that are just trying to sort of almost pass the buck onto her for something going wrong, and almost strip her of her ranking that she worked so hard to get. So it's really heartbreaking. As the Eugene Hunt character sort of starts coming more into contact with Megan, and things start to get into like a relationship, things start to really get out of hand in her life, and it really takes some very dark turns. Some dark turns for me as a kid watching this in the summer of 1990 I wasn't prepared for, and it really did disturb me. But I do notice now that I'm going back and watching a lot of these old films, especially ones like this one and Fatal Beauty, where you had an actress as a lead in a action-centric kind of film. I did notice that critics tended to be harder, and it was sort of like, the woman typically in the films back in the 80s and 90s, the decades that I loved, but a lot of times women were the object that the men were trying to acquire. The men were the dominant ones, the women were the submissive ones. And when that sort of blueprint of what a film should be switched, and the woman is now the one that's actually the dominant one, the one that's actually protecting people, the one that's actually in the action scenes, I noticed that a lot of critics and a lot of film goers either just completely ignored the film, or they criticized it and kind of tore it apart. And I feel like this one suffered the same fate that Fatal Beauty did. They found everything wrong with Fatal Beauty, and a lot of it had to do with the bad language, the action, the violence, but you would see the same thing in a Stallone film, or even in Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy. So it's like, it's weird, like when you go back and look at this stuff and say, okay, what was the mindset of tearing this down? Was it because it was going against norms? Was it going against the grain? Whatever it was, even as I was watching it, it was something new for me, because I wasn't used to this kind of subject matter. But I really think this movie kicks ass, and the disturbing parts are there, and they really get to you. And Ron Silver is terrifying. He does a really good job of just playing this man that seems very normal when you first see him in the supermarket at the beginning of the film, or in the first act when everything kind of goes down, that sort of sets off the rest of the film. But as he slowly goes through it, he gets more and more savage and insane. and it really is terrifying. And I think Jamie Lee Curtis did a great job in this film. There's some scenes in this film, especially one where she confronts her father over the way he treats her mother. I grew up where, you know, certain men in my family would talk down to the women. It was just a different time, and I hated it. And so that scene really was satisfying for me to see this in this film, where she actually puts him in his place, puts her father in his place. And I think this movie is just completely underrated. Everything in it that you could want. It's got tense action. It's got really hard-hitting drama, and it's got some really scary moments. So I think it fits perfectly into this underrated horror film series, and I can't recommend this film enough. If you're a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis in all facets of her career, I think she's an amazing actress. I'm very happy she did get Best Supporting Actress. She deserved it. She's a terrific lady. She's no bullshit. So glad that I finally got to do this. This is 3 years in the making, finally getting this video out. So let me know if you have seen the film. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section below. Would love to hear from everyone. But thank you so much for checking out this video, and I promise I will talk to you again real soon. Take it easy. Stay scared as always.